what's going on, gamers? Welcome back to another review. This time around, I'm reviewing The Evil Within, brought to you by Tango Gameworks and Bethesda. Now, this game released on October 14th for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PC. Fantastic game. Return to the survival horror genre. If you don't know what this game is, just real quick, I'll tell you a little bit about the story. While investigating a scene of gruesome mass murder, Detective Sebastian Castellanos and his partner encounter a mysterious and powerful force. After seeing the slaughter of fellow officers, Sebastian is ambushed and knocked unconscious. When he awakens, he finds himself in a deranged world where hideous creatures wander among the dead. Facing the unimaginable terror and fighting for survival, Sebastian embarks on a frightening journey to unravel what's behind this evil force. Now, what's great about this game is it's developed by Shinji Mikami, the creator of Resident Evil. And there's been so many times over the past couple of years that Resident Evil has came out, and we've been very disappointed. Now, Resident Evil 4, I feel, was one of the last Resident Evil titles that came out that really pushed the boundaries when it came down to survival horror. And this game really kind of brings it back as well. And since I played this game at QuakeCon, I was blown away. I was excited about the game originally whenever they first announced it. But whenever I got to play it at QuakeCon, I played it for 2 hours, or actually, I'm sorry, an hour, and it was fantastic. I was so blown away. But now getting an actual, full hands-on of the entire game, beating the game, I gotta say, guys, this is really a great survival horror game. And if anything, it's very much like Resident Evil 4. Like, it's really like Resident Evil 4. If anything, it's kind of like, it's basically like Resident Evil 5. It's what Resident Evil 5 should have been. And that's a good thing, and there's a lot of people that have said a few things here and there out and about of like, well, it's its own game, and not too many people have had anything bad to say about it. But the thing is that this is Shinji Mikami, and yes, there's a lot of aspects in the game while you're playing that are very similar to Resident Evil, like the green the green goo that you get from killing one of the haunted, or even killing one of the bosses. That type of animation is the same type of animation that they use in Resident Evil 4. Some of the art style, just a lot of the things he brought from that series. But it's a really good thing that he did, because it kind of pushes Resident Evil 5 out of the way, completely out of the way of saying, this is what I meant to make as a follow-up to this game. Now, Shinji Mikami was only on the projects of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 4. He was the director for those games. But the big thing about the return of Shinji Mikami is that he kind of wanted to do one of these games of like, hey, I want to return to survival horror, but this is, I guess this is more or less, maybe it might be one of his last games that he does, because Shinji Mikami doesn't really work on many games, and whenever he does work on them, they're definitely going to have his kind of tag on those titles, and you can see that in this. Now, the first thing I can really talk about, and I know I've already been blabbering on because I'm in total fanboy mode right now, but the graphics in the game are fantastic. Really good. There's a lot of people that were hating on the game because it wasn't 60 frames per second. They were also hating on the game because it has this 16:9 cinematic screen on it, to where the black bars are on there, and I really like that. Actually, it added in that theatrical aspect of a horror movie that you would usually just be watching. I can't tell you how many times I was playing the game, and while I was playing the game in that cinematic mode, I was just kind of drawn into the TV, to the extent of when something scary happened in the game, I literally was like, oh shit, and like jumping back or yelling at the top of my lungs saying, you run. It was just fantastic. The graphics really pull you in. You have this kind of old rustic towns that you're going through. It actually looks like something, really something kind of like out of the 20s. or even the 30s, these old buildings that are falling apart, and it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. Graphics are fantastic in the game. Now, the voice acting is one thing that I will say I wasn't the biggest... How do I say that? I wasn't really the biggest fan of. The reason being is that, like... I'm trying to say it in the nicest way possible. Really, really nice way. It was voiced by Anson Mount, who was actually he's the main character on Hell on Wheels for AMC, and I really love that show. Like, it's one of my favorite shows AMC has brought out. But there's something, I don't know, dude. There's something about it. There's really something about it that just kind of turned me off from the game. It seems like it's not really heavy, genuine voice acting. There's a lot of times that whenever stuff happens in the game, like if you run out of ammo, instead of being like, damn, I'm out of ammo, or, you know, fuck, I'm out of ammo, he's kind of like, out of ammo? And that's it. Like, that, it's like he's asking himself a question while he's getting chased by these giant fucking bosses running through this horrific game. Like, oh my god, I'm about to die. Oh, wait a second, I'm out of ammo. Like, it's crazy, man. And to be honest, like, I can't really blame that directly on the voice actor. There's always a possibility that it could have been the voice acting coach as well. You know, there had to be, you know, with a voice actor and a voice acting coach, there has to be a connection to where they both understand what the character is trying to drive across with his emotions. And there's a lot of times in the game it just doesn't really seem like it's there. And like I said, I enjoyed Anson, you know, with his voice acting in a lot of the game, but there was still that little, you know, quarter to, you know, half of the game that I was kind of like, okay, he could have done a lot better than this. You know, it really kind of pulled me out of the whole, like, you know, dragging myself into the game of it. You know, what we could talk about next outside of voice acting, outside of, let me say this, outside of Sebastian, I thought Joseph and Julie's character and even Ruvik's character were fantastic, like really, really, really fantastic voice acting. I think they did a damn good job with that, especially Ruvik. Like, he put a lot of more of an evil kind of tone behind him. The voice actor for that was actually Jackie Haley. And, you know, he did a really good job, like a really, really good job of pushing it across of, like, you know, that very deep, raspy kind of, you know, voice that he has with, you know, he played Rorschach in Watchmen. He played Freddy Krueger. You know, he always has that real kind of, like, you know, Rorschach's journal, blah, 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 blah. And that's what he does with Ruvik. He does a damn good job with it. But like I said, you know, Anson could have done a little bit better. I think it would have kind of dragged me into the game a little bit more to where I would have been like, okay, this is pretty good. So moving on from that, gameplay mechanics and just gameplay in general. There's a lot of things about the game that are just fantastic. Like, really, really fantastic. Like the bow that you can use. It's so freaking great, dude. It was, what was it? Agni bow, or I think it's Agni bow. I'm sorry, guys. It's a really, really awesome bow, and you can actually craft. You know, you can craft different bolts for the weapon. You can get the regular bolts. You can get explosive bolts, electric bolts, freezing bolts. Ton of stuff like that. You can also, you know, upgrade the weapon's power throughout the game. You can upgrade, you know, different, you know, shotguns. You have a sniper rifle. You have a regular pistol. Upgrading all that throughout the game. But the crazy thing about that is that you have to really make every bullet count, because if you don't, there's many times throughout the game that you'll find yourself like having no weapons, or, well, no ammunition at all. No ammunition at all. And there's 20,000 freaking guys surrounding you. You know, it's totally, it's happened. It happened to me so many times in the game. It was crazy. Having two bosses that I'm fighting at once and have like three 3 bullets for my pistol and like 2 bolts, and that's it. And it was crazy, man. And I was like, oh, I kept dying over and over and over again. So I'd have to reload a previous section and make sure that I did that section a little bit more properly on saving ammunition. So whenever I got to those bosses, I had more ammunition. So it really makes you think heavily on your decisions throughout the game. And I will say this to anyone that hasn't played it, please, 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 upgrade your melee as much as possible, because you are going to need it if you want to save ammunition. So gameplay mechanics are fantastic. You know, just the gameplay in general of, like, you know, shooting, dealing with the haunted, where it was crazy. I mean, you'll shoot a haunted guy right in the head, blow a gigantic chunk of his head out. Like, there's one, the heavier haunted guy, you can actually shoot him in the head and it blows out the entire circle of his face, but he's still coming towards you, and somehow he's still going, like, where is his mouth? Did his mouth move past his double chin? Is that what happened? But then with your enemies, you have like the haunted. You also have the keeper, who is known as Boxman, who has this gigantic metal box on his head, who is probably one of the hardest enemies that you will face. And I'm not going to spoil it too much for you guys, but there's going to be some times that you will die many, many, many times. There's also Rebirth Laura, who is a 4-armed freak of a woman. She's actually a succubus. I'm pretty sure she's my ex-girlfriend. But she's totally crazy, and she's got blood soaked all over her, and it's nuts to fight her. And then the sadist, who is this gigantic victim, he also has a huge chainsaw that he will chase after you. He can cut you in half, cut your head off, stick it through your back. And then last but not least, Ruvik himself, the hooded man that chases you around so many levels that he can totally one-shot your ass with just a touch of his hand, and you will die. So you have to make sure that you make the right decisions throughout this game of saving at the proper times, making sure that you have enough ammunition for what's going to come at the end of the level. Don't just go in willy-nilly and just start shooting left and right and like, pa-pow, pa-pow. You get to the end of the level, you have no ammunition, you're totally screwed, bro. So make sure to do that if you have not played this game, for sure. But graphics, gameplay, voice acting, the music is fantastic in the game. It really adds to the whole survival horror aspect. There's tons of times that you'll be playing the game and like the music will cut in right at the perfect moment, and you're like, okay, this is starting to get tense. There's many times that instead, like, Dara wasn't in there watching me, and I was in there by myself with all the lights out, and I'm like, okay, there's going to be something around this corner. And it was really, really intense, man. It was a really intense game. Like I said, there was a few times that I was kind of turned off by the voice acting, and there was only one time that I really had a graphical error, and it was the first time I started to play the game, and the shading, like the buffering for the game, didn't really pump up much, so it looked like it was like a PS2 game for a second, and then it kind of smoothed out and it looked all next gen, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what that was. So, and I know that happens sometimes with the id Tech 5 engine. I know it happened a couple of times with Wolfenstein. And that's just, that happens sometimes, so that's fine. It didn't ruin my video game experience. So what I'm going to give this game, I'm going to give it a big fat buy. Buy this game. There's survival mode on it. There's all different types of stuff that you can do, different ways of you playing the game. And it's a really fantastic game, especially for some of you guys out there that are wanting to get a game around the holiday season for Halloween. Pick this game up, guys. Definitely pick it up. It's out for PC, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. So buy this title, show your friends, challenge your friends, see who can get through certain levels quicker and the best way ever. So there's all different types of stuff. Like I said, you definitely need to make sure to survive as good as possible in the sense of saving your ammunition, making sure you're doing the right exact things, and also upgrade your melee as good, like as much as you can, as much as you can. So anyways, guys, this is my review of The Evil Within. Big shout outs to Bethesda. Thank you guys so much for giving us the awesome chance of reviewing this title. Make sure to check us out at secondopinionpod.com. Peace out, guys.